Hello and welcome to another episode of On My Bookshelf, and today we're going to be looking at Extreme Scotland by Nadir Khan. Yes, welcome back to On My Bookshelf, where in this episode we're going to be looking at Nadir Khan's Extreme Scotland, a photographic journey through Scottish adventure sports. Now, I first discovered this book by listening to one of my favourite photography podcasts, The Togcast. Now, if you don't listen to this show and you have even half an interest in photography, it's definitely worth checking out. I'll include a link for that in the video description below. Now, Nadir Khan was interviewed on the Togcast in a recent episode, and I really enjoyed it. I loved listening to his journey as a photographer, and particularly how he got into adventure sports photography. And then, of course, he mentioned his book, and I thought this sounds like a really interesting book. Not only will it have high quality pictures in it, but it'll also cover more than just landscapes. It's going to cover adventure sports, things that I'm interested in. Well, I say I'm interested in, I'm obviously not a rock climber, but things like running and biking and just the general Scottish landscape and being out in Scotland and making the most of that stunning and varied landscape. I thought this would be a really interesting book to put on my bookshelf. So why don't we take a closer look? The book itself is about 180 pages long and is packed full of content. It's got a foreword from Hamish McInnes and an introduction, of course, from Nadir himself. But let's jump into the book and have a look at some of those photographs. Now, one of the first things I want to look at are these couple of pages here. It's got a story and a photograph, and it's called The Hurting. Now, The Hurting refers to a mountain climbing route that they've got, or a rock climbing route. And in the story, Nadir goes on to describe the kind of adventure of that day and the challenges involved around getting that particular photograph. He's talking about the -10 conditions, the camera controls were freezing over. So it sounded like a really, really difficult shoot. And then you look at the photograph itself and it's an absolutely stunning image. But more than that, for me, looking at it from the photographer's point of view, is knowing that to get that shot, Nadir actually had to climb up that wall, that icy wall as well. So, he's got all those skills to get there in the first place and then still be in a position and have the bravery and skill to actually take the photograph and compose it and make it a good picture. So I really like those kind of things in this book, as of the stories, which you not only hear from Nadir himself, but they are also the subjects that he photographs. Now, as this is a book on adventure sports photography, you're going to find a lot of images like this one here on the left. A lot of people doing dramatic things in dramatic locations. But you'll also find photographs like this one on the right, which is a more sort of traditional landscape photograph. And what Nadir's done here is obviously he's used his skills, his mountain skills, to get into this location, which looks very cold and very snowy, and then use his skills as a photographer to actually capture this landscape image. So it just shows you what a breadth of skills Nadir has in order to get these particular photographs. Obviously, adventure sports aren't without their risk, as we can see here with this photograph on the right. This mountaineer has been caught in an avalanche and has dislocated his knee, and he is obviously in a considerable amount of pain. But Nadir has done a great job of not only positioning himself to get the photograph, but also in the timing. So he's obviously got the pain and anguish from the mountaineer, but also the concern from their fellow mountaineer in their faces. So it makes for a really powerful picture. And it must be difficult for Nadir in these circumstances to take these pictures. This is either a friend or a colleague or someone he's close enough with that he wants to go up into the mountains with. You can't just stand back and be completely detached from the situation and not feel a little bit of concern, but he's still got his camera out and captured this moment. One of the good things about this book is the variety of content in it. Now, we've got this picture here from Nadir featuring someone doing some ice climbing on Nevis, and he goes on to talk a little bit about some of the challenges of taking this photograph, particularly when using a wide angle lens. But the complimentary poem on the right hand side is a really nice addition for me, and I really like the way this book is packed full of stories and poems from other people. The book contains more than just dramatic images of landscapes and people doing adventure sports. Here we can see Nadir's included 3 detail shots that he's captured from a mountain hut. And I think these photographs are just as important as the other ones because they help tell the story of the people involved in these adventure sports. This next photograph is probably one of my favourites. It's a real action-packed photograph. Obviously we've got this climber here in the green jacket and he's on this bit of ice, and and he's just about hanging on, and then he's got his ice axe, which I think it looks like he's just about to stick into the ice. But then wider from the shot, around the top right hand corner, you've got all this snow blowing off the top of the hill there, and this just overall just paints a really dramatic image. It's a really powerful, exciting image to look at. Not only has Nadir packed the book full of his photographs, but he's also included many pages that talks about his approach to his photography. So he's got sections on composition, the types of gear that he uses, and also a subject that's particularly close to my heart, and that's printing, and the importance of printing photographs and how different and how much more meaning they take on when they take in a physical form. So I'm going to wrap things up with this image here of the fairy pools and the Isle of Skye, and Nadir's done a really good job of capturing this photograph of this popular viewpoint. I really like the tones and the colours in this image. I think it stands out from many of the other images I've seen of this particular viewpoint. Now, I'll also point out that this image was taken in spring, and one of the things in this book you'll find is that the book is basically split up into 4 different sections, one for each of the seasons. So you've seen a lot of photographs and stories there from the winter season. This is obviously a spring, but you also find photographs and the sports that are related to those seasons come through as well. So you see a bit more running and a bit more cycling as you get through to the kind of springs and summer months as well. So is Extreme Scotland a book for your bookshelf? Well, I'm going to say yes. This is an absolutely fantastic book, whether you're a photographer or just a person that's into adventure sports. If you're a photographer, there's plenty here for you. You can really appreciate the photographs and the work that's gone into these photographs. And also Nadir includes lots of information about individual photographs and his approach to photography in general. But even if you only got a general sort of passing interest in photography and your focus is more on adventure sports, you're going to absolutely love this book as well. It captures some really dramatic and epic moments in adventure sports across all the seasons in Scotland. So for those reasons, yes, it should be on your bookshelf. Well, I do hope you enjoyed that episode of On My Bookshelf, and if you did, please do consider hitting that like button and leaving me a comment. I do try and read and reply to everyone's comments. And if you want to see another couple of episodes of On My Bookshelf, I'll pop some links up there on the screen. And also, if you're interested in subscribing, please do click on my face there. And also, don't forget to check out my blog there as well. I'll see you in the next one.